record. Yeah, so I did press record, so hopefully it's recording now. Ladies, it's 5 minutes past the hour, so I'm going to make a start now. Thank you so much for joining me again. This is the 7th meeting in the Career by Design series. Thank you to those who are joining us every week or regularly anyway. And thank you the ones who have joined us for the first time. Today we are going to talk about office politics, navigating office politics. Maybe it's a little bit like unfortunate title because it goes beyond the glass ceiling, and I know people often get excited about the glass ceiling, but it's a little bit more than that. It's all about effective strategies to navigate office politics, especially for us women, because we need to try a little bit harder still. Okay, so because we always have someone who is new, I will go briefly through this slide. I know for those of you who have joined us many times before, it's boring to go through the same thing again, so I promise it will be quick. I'm Izabela Kramasz. I'm a career coach and business transformation consultant. I've spent 25 plus years in the corporate world, in finance and strategy, in top financial institutions globally. My expertise is in leadership, finance, strategy, change and mergers and acquisitions. I pivoted to coaching a couple of years ago, and this is my full-time business. Now, I'm really passionate about empowering women high achievers to take the next step in their career. I've been there and done that. So now my calling is to help others to pay forward and help others to maybe benefit from some shortcuts and the knowledge that I have accumulated across the years. Now, Career by Design series is my signature program. It's 13 sessions series webinars on LinkedIn every week at 12 o'clock UK, 1 p.m. Central European time. It's exactly for you, for high achieving women in the corporate world, for you to take control of your journey and achieve long-term success and fulfillment. It's under the Career by Design umbrella, and the topics that I'm covering every week are all related to career management and designing your career as opposed to going with the flow and a career by default. So do join me, do join the community, do join the seminars and the webinars every week. Do join my community, visit my website. There is a lot of material that I'm publishing both on LinkedIn and on my website. That's the last slide about Career by Design, because I'm so passionate about it. And since you are here, I think it's important for you too. Career by Design is a proactive approach where you take charge of your professional journey and design a fulfilling career. This is to align with your passion, skills, and values, and to make sure that you own your destiny, because if you don't, someone else will. Your career will happen anyway, but you will have no control over it. So this is why I think we have a choice. Either we take control of our career or we let it flow, and then it will be much more difficult to be satisfied and to be successful. Okay, enough of that then. Today we are talking about the glass ceiling and beyond, and strategies for navigating office politics. I must say this is a difficult one because it's not tangible. It's not something that we can measure or something that we can see clearly, but we do feel it. We know it exists. And it's something that especially women should be talking about because it is there and it's not going away. Hence this topic today. I think it's a key one in managing your career topics, because at some point in our career, it's all about the office politics. It's much less about what we know and what we are good at. It's much more about how we navigate the office politics and how good we are at it. So let's make a start. Do please interrupt me if you have questions. Do put questions in the chat box. I can't see it, but Frances, who is helping me here fabulously, always every week, she will let me know. So what is it, office politics? And what do we mean when we say office politics? So this is all about understanding the landscape. The interesting thing about office politics is that oftentimes we think it's something inherently negative. Or we say, oh, I don't play politics. I don't like the corporate world because it's all about politics. So we oftentimes associate it with something negative, unethical, and something we don't want to have anything in common with. But whether we want to have something in common with it or not, it is there and will be there. So we better understand it and learn to play the game. So office politics is often defined as informal power structures within an organization. It goes well beyond hierarchy. It is within the hierarchy, but goes well beyond the hierarchy in the organization. They are unwritten rules influencing decisions and promotions. And it's all about building relationships and alliances for support. And this is why it's so very important, ladies, because they are informal power structures which will always exist, but they will always be also influencing the decisions behind the closed door. So if you don't want to play politics, it will be played anyway. But you may not be, if you're not a part of it, you may not, no matter how good you are, you may not be a part of the game in terms of promotions and going, climbing the corporate ladder. Common misconceptions. I mentioned already, politics are always negative. Avoiding politics is possible. I can hide. I don't want to play it. I want to be good at what I do, and they will find me. And political skill is inborn. So I'm not good at politics. I won't be playing it. They are misconceptions. This is not always negative, and we will talk about it a little bit later. No matter if you want it or not, or like it or not, you will not be able to avoid it. It's not inborn, everybody can learn it, even if you don't like it. Like a lot of us don't like networking, but we cannot avoid it and we have to learn it. And the last not least is office politics are unfair to women. And I want to talk to this a little bit more because it's not necessarily often a misconception. It's much harder for women to play office politics, and there is a lot of reasons why this is the case. I'm going to go through the reasons with you later on because I think we need to be aware of them and to find solutions to overcome them. So while talking about politics being unfair to women, and while talking about that, and it's an online event, so I can't see you and can't talk to you, but think about your own situation. Like, what has brought you to this meeting? You must have recognized, of course, office politics, and there is a reason why you are here. You either want to learn more about it or understand more about it, or you want to think about your own situation and how you can apply solutions to your own situation. Think about it when we go through this presentation, and we can discuss later. Okay, so there are unique challenges that women face in navigating office politics, and they are related to gender dynamics and perception, the way women are perceived on the marketplace, in the corporate world, in leadership roles, and elsewhere. Access to networks. Women oftentimes have less access to informal networks. We'll talk about it as well. And the leadership styles. So let's unpack it and see what those challenges are and how we can address them. And again, please think about yourself and if any of this resonates with you. What does it mean? What do I mean by the perception, leadership style, and access to network? Okay, gender dynamics and perception. I'm sure some of you have seen it before, or if you haven't or didn't experience it yourself, you know that women are, especially in negotiation, for example, women who express strong emotions are seen as irrational, while men are often seen as passionate. So there are different perceptions depending on the gender, and there's so many reasons to it, historically, traditionally, societal norms. Whatever the reason is, this is a fact that we as women are often perceived as too emotional or irrational, and the same does not apply to men. While leading a meeting, when we take charge, we may be perceived as domineering, while men will be perceived as strong. And the same behavior may be perceived differently because there are different expectations towards women still in the society. And emotions, yeah, this one I talked about already, so I don't know why it's here twice. Negotiation, what I was going to say also is that when we negotiate strongly and when we stick to our position, we will be perceived as stubborn or difficult, and men will be perceived as assertive. So I wonder if any of you have experienced it, or not, even if not experienced yourself, did you hear about it? Did you notice, or did you know? I'm sure you did. Next, so that was about perception. Limited access to informal networks. What does this mean? You see, this is a common, maybe a common myth. I think it happens more now that women are attending the so-called male-dominated events. Historically, traditionally, men will go and play golf or go to clubs or networking in pubs after work. And women oftentimes are not part of those events, or they cannot participate because they have other roles as well and other responsibilities. But that means that during those events, men are making a lot of connections and a lot of network, whereas we are missing on it and we don't. Senior men mentor other men more, hindering women's access to guidance. Again, I think it's changing more and more. And there is more and more women men helping women and sponsoring women and being their advocate and so on. I am a firm believer that men should be included in the diversity and inclusion initiatives, because without men, we will not be able to achieve what we want in our diversity and inclusion initiatives. So this sponsorship bias, I think it does exist, but it's less and less prevalent and less obvious, if you like. Yeah, and I mentioned about family pressure that limit women's participation in crucial networking. It's still women's role to, to look after children and so on. So they do rush back home, whereas men not necessarily. All this hinders women's access to informal networks, which are crucial part of the office politics. And last but not least is this leadership styles and gender bias. Collaboration versus decisive. That's an interesting one, because women are always seen as more collaborative than men, but being collaborative, sometimes they are seen as indecisive. And similar male style is seen as inclusive. So there is the same behavior, but different labels, if you like, again, based on the stereotypical image of women and the societal norms. Relationship versus direct, focusing on relationship, this is what women often do, is seen as soft. And similar style in men is seen as relationship driven. And again, assertive versus authoritative, that's what I mentioned before. Women who communicate assertively are often seen as bossy, whereas our male colleagues are seen as strong and not necessarily bossy. So the reason why I'm bringing this all up, and it does sound doom and gloom and and all really, really not good. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is some of those that I mentioned are not that strong anymore, and the societal norms are changing, and we are changing them. This is this glass ceiling that we are constantly pushing away. But I think it's important to know about it, and rather than being hurt and offended, try to work around it and to try to work collaboratively with men and women to change the perception and to act the way that we are not perceived the way, or even if we are, we will be able to how shall I put it, to apply effective strategies so that this perception is not a part of our identity. So how to deal with it? I wonder if there are any questions, or is there anything that people want to add? No questions, nothing. Okay, let's go into strategies, how to deal with that. Okay, before we do, remember what I said about office politics, informal power structures, unofficial networks, and relationships that influence decisions. And I think this is what's important here, because they may be unofficial, they may be networks, relationships, whatever, but they do influence decisions. They are the decisions that are made behind closed doors when you are not there. And again, they are going well beyond the formal structures. It's human dynamics at play, and this is why it will never go away. It's about power, relationship, competition. I think competition is really, really important here, and cooperation, which shape the office landscape. And because it's a human dynamics at play, it will always be there. It does have a big impact on the workplace because it determines project success, initiative effectiveness, and yes, career advancement, absolutely. The key question in office politics is who has the influence, who makes the decisions, and who collaborates with whom. And on the flip side of this question, there is how can I be the person of influence, and how can I influence decisions, who I should collaborate with to make it happen. I do want you to remember from this that you don't have to be a CEO or a board member to worry about office politics, because it concerns absolutely everyone. And even more so if you are not a CEO or the board member, because you do want to get higher in the corporate ladder. Therefore, you need to be at least aware of the office politics and at least be able to play the game the way that it is to your advantage. And remember, whatever words or vocabulary I'm using, office politics, it's not inherently negative. It's normal, it's natural, it will always happen. Office politics is office politics. Politics is everywhere, in every group dynamic. So it's not a negative thing, and no matter how we see it, it will be there. So let's see it in a positive light, in the way like how I can play the game, how I can contribute, how I can be seen as a crucial player, how I can influence the key decision makers. Okay, so recognizing political players in the organization, who is who in the game. I think this is one of the key things. There are formal leaders, those with official authority, right? CEOs, managers, your line manager, their line manager, and everybody who holds the power due to the formal structure of the organization. It comes and goes. You can have one line manager today and someone else tomorrow. And this is why informal influencers are also important, because you may not have this official title, or someone else may not have this official title today, but tomorrow they may, because they are informal influencer in the organization. They are people who have a say behind the scenes, people with authority, people who are seen as future leaders. And of course, they are much more difficult to spot. When you join an organization as a newcomer, you will immediately know what is the organizational structure and who is who within the structure, but you will not know who has informal influence. And this is something that you need to learn. The sooner, the better. Yeah, gatekeepers, those who control access to information and resources. And again, sometimes it will be within the formal structures of the organization, and sometimes not. What's important? Building awareness and perception. So this is going to be a little bit busy in terms of information and meaty, I hope, but I really wanted to lay out as much as possible. So the first step is whether you join a new organization or you are a lifer in your own organization, or you're already there. First of all, you need to understand the landscape and identify the key players, decision makers, informal power structures within your organization. How to do it? The best thing is through networking. And we'll talk about networking in this context later on as well, because it's massively important. Recognizing biases, and this is exactly what we spoke about a couple of minutes ago. Being aware of potential gender stereotypes and unconscious bias that might affect how your actions are perceived. Remember those 3 key points. Why is office politics especially, what are the unique challenges? I don't want to say especially difficult for women, because it's not especially difficult for women, but there are unique challenges for women. And so you need to be aware of this, because once you're aware of this, it's easier to manage. And develop your own personal brand. We did talk about personal brand before. We'll be talking about it all the time, because it's really, really important. Projecting confidence, competence, and unique value proposition. Because remember, even if you are not in the formal leadership structures of the organization, there are also informal structures, and people will be judging you and observing you and looking at you. So once you have a strong brand, you project confidence, you are known for competence, and you have a unique value proposition, chances are you will be seen as an influential person, and a person with influence, or at least you will be seen in a very, very positive light, which means you are then, how shall I put it? You are considered for promotion and for other roles. Yeah, it's all about understanding the dynamics at play in your organization. And then again, if you look at your own organization, it will always start with your own team, then your own boss, their boss, and the larger team, and then going higher up in the organization. That's one way of looking at it, but it also goes across the hierarchy of the organization. So it's also your peers and people that you deal with, your key stakeholders. So it's not only managing your stakeholders upwards, but also the horizontals and down as well, whoever reports to you. It's also very, very important. And again, I'm going back to the concept that you may be a formal leader, and then everybody will naturally see you as a leader because you are, I don't know, a line manager. But it doesn't mean that you will be immediately respected. But you may not have any team, and you will still be seen as a leader, as someone of influence. Once you have a strong brand, you're confident, competent, and have your own value proposition. The next step is mastering communication and visibility. Visibility, I think it's really, really important. You need to speak up and be seen. Once you have your unique value proposition, you need to be able to articulate it clearly. Your value proposition and your accomplishments, how your skills contribute to the organization's success, because no one will find you. People will not be looking for you and dragging you up. You cannot be the organization's best secret. You need to advocate for your accomplishments and achievements, because once they are known, you will be closer to the decision-making circles. And if you are closer to the decision-making circles, understanding the politics there and managing it is much easier. Visibility. Presentations, key meetings, don't shy away from showcasing your expertise. Yeah. And last but not least, and it's a topic for an entire separate conversation, but negotiating with confidence is also very important. It impacts your brand a lot. How you communicate assertively, how you negotiate your worth, and your promotion. And again, remember, nobody will be advocating for you if you won't. You need to research your worth, know how much you are worth on the market. And I encourage you to do that always. Know how much you would be paid elsewhere other than your own organization. How much are your skills and competences worth? So you're always on top of that, because only then you will be able to advocate for yourself in your own company, or if you decide to go elsewhere, it will be easier. And again, what does it have to do with office politics? Seen as assertive, and I don't mean aggressive, I mean assertive, and knowing your worth positions you at this level of the appropriate level of seniority. You are seen as a leader, someone who is senior enough to know their worth, to stand for it, and to fight for it. And again, once you know your worth, it's based on your, I'm sure it's based on your contribution, on your value, and on what you are bringing to the company. So it all goes together. Strong alliances. I've recently done a poll on LinkedIn on what is the key aspect of managing office politics, and what people think is the most important strategy. And by far, the vote was for building strategic alliances and networking. And I do agree it's important, but of course it's only it's very, very important, and perhaps most important, but it's only a part of the puzzle. Strong alliances, of course, empower everyone involved. So for office politics, remember when we were saying about men oftentimes meeting informally for beer after work, or playing golf, or whatever else they are playing, meeting up, and so on. We don't do it that often, but we have no excuse not to network strategically. Connecting with colleagues across departments, not just in your own immediate circle, and remember to connect at various levels of the organization. Don't be shy to reach out to senior people. Look for mentors in your organization. Look for mentors outside of your immediate reporting line. Your line manager is an important person in your career advancement, but you also need to have sponsors and mentors outside of your immediate reporting line. Also because you want to share with them things that you don't necessarily or wouldn't necessarily share with your line manager. And that's one thing. And another thing is you want to widen your network. So do remember, don't shy away from reaching to senior managers. That's exactly what it is. Finding senior leaders who can advocate for your skills and career advancement. In many companies, for anyone to be promoted, they need to have, apart from their line manager who brings this name for promotion, puts it forward for promotion, they need to present a couple of names from senior management, of sponsors, people who will advocate for it formally. And then when you are nominated for a promotion, it's too late to look for sponsors cold, like going to people and saying, would you please sponsor me? Because chances are, if they don't know you, they will not. So it's much wiser to work on it as soon as possible. So when it comes, you have it ready. And I think I mentioned before, building alliances with men and women, because collaboration and mutual support can be powerful, or is powerful, in office politics. As I said, I don't believe in diversity and inclusion built by women only. I think men should be included. They should understand and know what our challenges are, and be our advocates, and help us. With perception, for example, I recently read, you may know this, of an initiative, I think it was Thomson Reuters or another company, a really cool initiative where it was like a team building exercise, VR, virtual reality. The men were invited to participate in a virtual reality exercise where they were stepping in the role of a woman, and they were experiencing all kinds of behaviors that women are on the street or in the workplace. Of course, it was very much like exaggerated, but it was for the men to see what it is to be a woman in a workplace. And because many times as men say they don't believe it is the case, it doesn't exist, and so on. But this was really, really powerful. It was a powerful exercise. It was really, really eye-opening. So yeah, I thought it was a cool exercise. They were really happy with that, and I'm sure it will help. So building alliances with men and women, for men to better understand where we stand, to help us, advocate for us, and not to alienate us, if you will. Strategic action and influence, playing fair wins the race, because the reason why I'm bringing it up is because, as mentioned earlier, sometimes office politics is associated with, games, unethical games, or games behind the scenes or dirty games that we don't like, and we are not going to play them, and so on. There is no need I think there is no need to, what do I want to say, to dwell on it or to look at it that way, and no reason for us women to play unfair game, because playing fair wins the race. It's a win-win for everyone. I think it's important to focus on solutions and not complaints. Oftentimes, people will say, oh, I don't like this solution, or I don't think this solution will work. I used to have a line manager who said that he had some, his name was John Bhattacharya, some Bhattacharya's rules. I love them. One of them was, if you criticize, find a solution. I really loved it, because sometimes you will not have a solution, but don't criticize just for its own sake or because you don't like it. Finding solution is a much more positive approach, and complaining is not helping anyway. Building consensus and collaboration. This again, it has a lot to do with office politics. Collaborating with key players is important, and building consensus as well. Teamwork, coalitions to support your initiatives. Remember, do go beyond the formal corporate structures. Do have allies across the board, and support others. Consider being a mentor for others, your younger colleagues, or someone from a different department who would benefit from knowing more about what you do, because this goes a long way as well. And this is really, really key. Play the long game. It's a marathon, not a sprint, playing the office politics. Building networks and supports is also a long game. This is why I'm saying that before you even need it, start building those networks now. You may never need them per se, that's fine. But once you need them, they have to be there. And do think about it long term, and as a long game. Yes, it always helps to be patient and persistent and foster trust and so on. There will be conflicts. Conflicts are a part of any team dynamic. And you have no influence on how people what people will do or how they will treat you, but you have a big influence on how you will react to it. And I think this is important. Professionalism and integrity. Again, focusing on building trust and credibility, avoiding gossip and negativity, advocating for yourself and others ethically. Yeah. Can I please ask you to mute yourself? Thank you. Frances, can you maybe mute the participants, please? Or maybe I could mute people. Hello? Can you please mute yourself? Thank you. Thank you. Maintaining professionalism and integrity, I think it's crucially important. And then I want to pause here a little bit, talking about avoiding gossip and negativity, because it's so very difficult, especially negativity, especially when we know what's going on in the organization. We are not necessarily very happy with what's going on in the organization, and it can be difficult for us to go above this simple, oh, it's it again, it's really wrong, it's really not good, it's this and that. Venting like that will not help. It will maybe it will help you short term and now and then, but long term it will not help. It will not help the team dynamic, and it will not help you as someone who wants to be seen as a senior person and a leader. And I'm not saying don't feel that way or be always happy, because it's absolutely impossible, but there is no need to share it widely with everyone and to project this negative energy, because it will impact your team, it will impact the team around you, and it will definitely be seen by others. So again, I'm not saying don't be negative ever, always be positive, but don't voice it, and try not to voice it publicly, because it will not help. You won't change anything by that. And you can damage your own brand. If you are unhappy and there is something you can do about it, you can, I don't know, confess in your boss, you can tell your mentor or your sponsor. It's always better than moaning publicly. And gossiping, yeah, who doesn't gossip? We all do. But again, try not to do it in the office environment, because it will travel a long way, unfortunately, and you don't know when it will haunt you and may damage your personal brand, and the brand that you have been working on really, really hard. Yes, do advocate for yourself and others ethically. What I mean ethically is, you don't want to drag anyone down when you are advocating for yourself. You don't want to go to people and say, please promote me and not this guy because he's really this and that. That's not what you want to do. I'm not saying you don't go and say, I know this person has been promoted or is about to be promoted and I am not, and why it is so. It's absolutely legitimate to go and ask this question, but do go about your own achievements, your own accomplishments, and your own credentials, rather than moaning about someone else, because it's not professional, it's not needed, it won't help. And then again, on the flip side, you can imagine yourself on the other side if someone else was doing that. So do play the long game and ethical game. That way people will trust you, and it will be easier to play the office politics because people will trust you. People will be sharing information with you, knowing that you will not be going around and talking to everybody else about it, what you have heard, and that you will not be using it against them. Okay. So office politics is not inherently negative. I know the connotation is negative, but remember, it is it is there and will be there. So there is no point in pretending that we don't see it or saying that we don't like it. Whether we think it is in negative or not, remember it shapes the power dynamic in the company. It has an impact on decision making, and it impacts the culture of the organization as well. Decide to be a part of it consciously yourself, but thinking about and knowing all those rules that we were talking about. Do play a long game yourself. Decide to be a part of the informal and formal structure as much as you can, and rather than avoiding it, try to manage it strategically. Exactly. So navigating those dynamics effectively will empower your professional journey. I think I did say it before, but I want to mention again. At some point in your career, it's much less about the content and much more about who you know, how you play the office politics, how you participate in decision making, and how you are seen as a leader potential. And that's why it's important to have a strong network across the board, up, down, horizontally, building alliances, knowing your stuff, communicating it well, being assertive, advocating for yourself, supporting others. Remember, I said consider to be a mentor or get involved in initiatives. Do participate in networking, do network strategically, and do voice it if you are not happy, but don't voice it behind someone's back or publicly in not a very constructive way. Think about your brand, build your brand, and office politics will very much be a part of your brand. How you can navigate it and manage it. This is what will be shaping you as your brand or your identity as a leader or as a future leader. So if you were to remember only 3 things from this meeting today, please remember that office politics are a reality, but you can navigate them effectively. Rather than shy away from them, pretending they don't exist or saying you don't like them and you are not going to play them, because they will be played anyway, but you will not be a part of it and you will lose. Building strategic alliances and communicating your value, maintaining integrity is important. And your skills, talent, and strategic approach are your greatest assets. Do remember that, because this is a foundation of your career in any case. On top of that, there is office politics, but the skills, talents, and strategic approach is, of course, key. So the question is, what strategy will you apply today? This slide, I'm always sharing to tell you that career planning is an ongoing process, and it's important to remain proactive and intentional about your career growth and development. Now, ladies, are there any questions? Thank you so much for bearing with me. No questions?
Maybe one comment and one question from my side. First of all, I wanted to highlight one of the points that you have mentioned, but it hasn't been maybe presented as the key point. in my experience, being an advocate for others was quite effective strategy for being advocate for myself. For instance, knowing someone who could be a good fit for an initiative that is ongoing might be a possibility to just speak up and say, hey, there is a guy or lady who can be a good fit for this team to overcome some challenges. So this is not only about being advocate for myself, but sometimes it is also useful to do the same for others. And from my experience, it can be beneficial for us at the end in this long game. So this is the comment. The question would be, are there any ways that you would recommend for finding this mentor outside of any formal mentorship programs? Like, for instance, in a situation that there is no such program and you would like to go forward with that strategy?
Thank you, Eva. Thank you so much. I want to comment very briefly on the first one that you said. Absolutely, absolutely. Advocating for others is key. And this is what I see as also a part of mentorship, maybe, because you can be a mentor for someone. Once you are a mentor for someone, one way to help them is recommending them for roles and for projects. But also apart from that, it's very, very important. I think this is why I think it's very, very important, because you're showing your own seniority that way by advocating for others and helping others. So thank you so much for mentioning it, because indeed it didn't come up in my speech, if you like, strongly enough. And now on your question, and it's also a really good question, because many people find it hard. Like, how do I go and find a mentor, right? Everybody is very senior and everybody is very busy, and then I don't know anyone that well. So I've done it before, thinking exactly the same way. I was like, who do I approach? So what I decided to do is to look at the org structure in my organization and see who I know and admire, and who would be my role model, who I would like to be my mentor. So that's one thing. Another thing was who I maybe don't like that much, but I still admire, and I think they are a really powerful people, and I can learn a lot from them. And then what I was doing, I was asking them specifically for a meeting, and asking at the meeting, could they be my mentor? And honestly, that's what I was doing. And I never, ever had anyone who said no. Once I had a lady who said, absolutely, absolutely, no worries at all, but tell me exactly what you want from me and I will do that. So I was really surprised. But then this is when I learned that going to them, those senior people, with this request, do know what you want. Do tell them what you expect. Do tell them why are you coming to them precisely. And it will be, oh, I really admire what you do. I admire your career journey. I admire the way you sort out through things. And would you agree to be my mentor? And then you need to be ready for them to say, well, unless you are happy with, I don't know, as long as you're happy with once a month or whatever, fine, because they will not be that eager to meet with you every week. But long story short, Eva, there is no other way. If there is no formal mentoring program, they are not going to come to you. The only way is to go to them. But when you go to them, be prepared why it's them that you are going to, what for, and what you really want. And that's the only way. And if you approach, I don't know, 2, 3, 5, eventually someone will say yes. And my experience is everybody says yes. Not everybody, like this lady, is that active later on, but I haven't And I haven't experienced anyone who said no, because remember, it's part of their role as well as senior leaders in the organization to empowering others, especially people who are more junior. Does it answer your question, Eva?
Yes, I think it does. Thank you.
Sure. There is a question in the chat from Clara. How do you approach a very political environment where a lot of negative politics was played? I mean, situation, how to recover before starting a new job, as previous job might leave a bitter aftertaste. So, Clara, I understand that you're asking about you're leaving this toxic toxic. I'm saying you didn't say this, but you said negative politics environment. You're starting fresh somewhere else, and you're asking how to approach the politics in the new organization. That's my understanding, right? So what I will say here is that I know it's not easy, and it's easier said than done. But I would try and approach it with a completely fresh mindset. Like, remember, what you're leaving behind, you're leaving behind. And there is a reason why you are leaving it behind. You are entering a new place, which there is no reason to think that this is a toxic place. So you just enter it or approach it with a like new beginner mind and playing your own integrity driven game, if you like. You understand the players, you understand what it is, and then you see chances are it will not be that toxic as the other one. But there is no other way, because if you approach it with the mindset of, oh, I'm sure it will be toxic, it will prevent you from engaging, and it will most definitely be this, self-proving, if you like, prophecy. I don't know if I answered your question. Let me know in the chat. But yeah, there can be I think it's less. It is office politics, but it's more the culture of the organization. So there are organizations or teams with some toxic corporate culture, and this is typically where the office politics is perceived as a means to someone's success or someone's gain.
These toxic people and relationships would be a topic for another session for you, Isa.
Toxic people.
Mm-hmm. In the organization and the organizational culture.
So you're suggesting, Agnieszka, that this is my next topic?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's a very common problem, what was just mentioned, and it's just a big topic to deal with.
It is a big topic. It's an interesting one, and thank you for the prompt. Just let me say what I said already is toxic people will be there always. They will be in. And sometimes people are leaving a team saying that I can't stand those toxic people. I will join another team or another organization. You just have no idea what is there in this new organization or the new team. So toxic people will be everywhere. It can be our family, it can be our friends, it can be our team members. There is a lot of, I'm really happy to talk about it next time because it is a bigger topic. One thing that I want to say now is you have no control over people's activities, what they will, how they behave and what they do, but you have full control over how you react to it. And I think this is the key, because otherwise you're just really vulnerable and you're not helping yourself. You will be perhaps escaping or avoiding all the time. So the key is to learn how to react to it, how to approach it, so that if possible at all, the relationship is not damaged, but you have your own boundaries, and you're not compromising your own integrity. But it is a very good topic. Very happy to talk about it next time. Okay, ladies, any more questions? Because it's the top of the hour and I promised I will finish at the top of the hour, but happy to answer any last question if there is one.
Just a little comment from me. Talking about finding a mentor and asking them very specifically, you touched another time the very important topic that we need to know what do we want and what do we want to achieve. And I find it very important. Yeah. And otherwise, I would like to thank you for this super important session.
Sure. Agnieszka, you mean you find it important to communicate to others, right?
The first thing and the other thing is to know what we really want to achieve.
Exactly, absolutely. And this is one of our first session. Know what you want to achieve. And don't worry if you don't know exactly, but at least know high level what you want to achieve. And then the mentor can help you as well. You may know that you want to go higher in the organization. You may want that you want another project or that you want to learn about other things in the organization. And if that's it, that's enough. And this mentor should be able to help you. But don't go to them and say, could you be my mentor? And then they will ask you, like this lady asked me, and what do you want exactly? And I was just like, well, whatever, I don't know really. And she said, come back when you do. And she was right. So this was a powerful lesson for me those years ago. Okay. Thank you, Agnieszka. That was really, really useful. Thank you all for your contribution. I want to ask Magda, because she has asked to unmute. Do you want to say anything, or is it just how it shows up on my computer?
No, I think I did by mistake.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate that. If you have any questions, do contact me offline. And do come next week.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.